Hello, today is February 8th, and we are reading our psalm for this Sunday. Our psalm for this sixth Sunday after Epiphany is Psalm 1. Happy are they who have not walked in the counsel of the wicked, nor lingered in the way of sinners, nor sat in the seats of the scornful. Their delight is in the law of the Lord, and they meditate on God's teaching day and night. They are like trees planted by streams of water, bearing fruit in due season, with leaves that do not wither. Everything they do shall prosper. It is not so with the wicked. They are like chaff which the wind blows away. Therefore the wicked shall not stand upright when judgment comes, nor the sinner in the counsel of the righteous. For the Lord knows the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked shall be destroyed. We have in this short instructional psalm the opening for the book of Psalms. This is Psalm 1. And it is a psalm that is, I think, firmly rooted in the wisdom genre. It is firmly rooted in, like I said, an instructional psalm. Like I would compare it to Psalm 119 or to the book of Proverbs, in that, like other parts of the Old Testament, largely, you have texts which are instructional, ethical, advisory for life, advice for life. And this psalm is an encouragement to the one who wants to meditate on God's teaching, who wants to delight in the law. And that can sound like a strange thing, especially for us as Christians, who, having since we live on such a heavy diet of Paul, the delighting in the law can sound like a strange thing. Paul, our New Testament theologian, who really shapes the imagination of the church, Paul is a theologian who says that we are imprisoned by the law, that the law is slavery, and that Jesus is a new kind of relationship with God, that we're no longer bound up by the law, but we are now free to have a relationship with God that is defined not by the strictures of the Torah, strictures of law, but rather by God's freely given grace. That's Paul's theology. That is Paul's major expression of his understanding of what it means to be a Christian. But even though we are heirs to Paul's theology, there is something still here that we in the Old Testament that keeps an emphasis on delighting in the law. So how can we negotiate? How can we bring together delight with Paul's critique of the law, of the, if you want to specifics, say the 10 Commandments, or the law that Jesus gives: love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, and with all your power, and love your neighbor as yourself. Those are the things that Jesus cites as the center of the law, as the primary motivators of the 10 Commandments. So how do we square that? How do we square that circle? How do we circle that square? Well, Paul's advice, or Paul's critique of those who follow the law or use the law as their only benchmark for salvation, I think stands especially when we know that we cannot fully live out the law. We can't fully obey the 10 Commandments as they are perfectly meant to be followed. This is something that Paul takes a cue from Jesus, that Jesus, as we will read Luke, going further into Luke, Jesus makes the point that the 10 Commandments are both are much stricter, not both, are much stricter than we would imagine ourselves, that we have no excuse under the law. And so we can't save ourselves by the law. But Paul is not saying Jesus never said we are getting rid of the Ten Commandments. Jesus never said there aren't guidelines for living. Jesus never said God still has an intention for us to live responsibly, to live with care for the other person. We have, those guidelines that you could call the Ten Commandments haven't gone away. Psalm 1, it's wisdom literature that reflects back the value of allowing the law, allowing the Torah to be a center of your meditation. It means, Psalm 1's assertion is that those who take time, who meditate, who absorb Scripture in this way, they are like trees planted by streams of water, bearing fruit in due season, with leaves that do not wither. Everything they do shall prosper. Psalm 1 presents a picture of a life that is in tune with those guidelines. That there is a sense that if you follow these basic rules for living, and that's kind of what wisdom literature frequently is, your life will generally go in this way. That if you honor your parents, if you honor your relationships, if you do not steal, if you do not violate your neighbor or their property, if you take care of the people in your life will be like a well-watered tree. It will be rooted. It will prosper. Psalm 1, of course, does not account for the other problems of life, that sometimes even when we follow and do all the right things, bad things happen to us. And this is a critique that's within the Old Testament. Job, this happens to Job. Job is the perfect or the blameless man to whom bad things happen. Really, the worst things happen. And his friends, they might as well be quoting Psalm 1 to him when they say, you must have done something wrong to deserve all these bad things happening to you. And Job insists upon his innocence. Job doesn't quite resolve those tensions, although it gets at the difficulty of living in a world that seems governed by unfair or unknowable forces, that even if we follow the law, even if we live good lives by the standards of our neighbors, we will still at times suffer. And so Psalm 1, this emphasis on meditating on the law, on finding strength and comfort from the law, is not I don't think we have to always understand the Ten Commandments and what they mean from Paul's critique, because there's space for guidelines for life. As long as we understand that we are not saved by our own actions, we have to be motivated by something else to follow the law, both effectively and at the base level of our motivations. But also, Psalm 1 is not promising that if we're good, only good things will happen to us in this life. Instead, I think what we can draw from this is Psalm 1 is saying, if you are following these things, you will be like a tree that's planted by a stream of water. You will have roots so that when the winds of life blow, you will not be blown away like the chaff. Psalm 1 is and the Ten Commandments, they are general rules that do not promise that nothing bad will happen. They are also not promises that our salvation is guaranteed by them. Instead, they are guidelines that show us how to live from day to day, that show us how to live with one another, to honor each other, to hold each other up in love, and to love God at the same time. That's our psalm for this week. I hope you are having a good week. I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're staying warm. Okay, bye-bye.